And the next panel is AI and the Afroverse, blurring lines, amplifying voices, or building new walls. Well, how to deal with AI, how to use AI. Sometimes there is a fear of AI, how to use it. Maybe it takes away good jobs, maybe it influences the creative process, but it can support us. How can we use AI to amplify a creative process? This is the subject of the upcoming panel here. And we will have here the founder and CEO of Adapt Entertainment from the US. He will be here with Zoom, and this is Darryl Marks. Please welcome him with a warm applause. Hi, Darryl.
Good afternoon.
Wow, you have read a lot of books. Or is that just a poster?
No, it's all real books.
I'm joking. Very good. And the writer and producer from Magnussen Media Group for USA and Nigeria, Zubi Mohammed. Welcome on stage. And the director and AI filmmaker from Germany and Iran, Shamila Lengsfeld. Welcome on stage. Hello. And you've seen him, and he has hosted already many panels. So smooth and so nice and so gentle. Please welcome Rodney Charles.
Hello, thank you both for joining me. Sorry about that, sir. I'm going to be struggling with names here because I've still got the old panel stuck in my head. But so I thank you, Darryl, Zubi, and Shamila for joining me today. So yeah, this particular topic of AI, in terms of its international reach, especially into the Africa space, diaspora, and beyond, where we want to get into this conversation. We've had a couple panels which looked at the legal elements concerning artificial intelligence. I don't want to just throw everything into just this lump sum of artificial intelligence. I think when we're speaking of AI, we're talking about generative AI, so that distinction needs to be made. And as far as generative AI, there are many different components. Many different components. And so I'd like us to begin by speaking about, if you could introduce yourselves and your company, and then we'll get into a specific question about artificial intelligence. We start with Zubi.
So my name is Zubi Mohammed. I'm a writer, producer, an occasional director as well. And I'm working with Magnussen Media Group. I'm a producer there, and we, generally speaking, we're in the scripted space for both series and feature films. And we have not, with Magnussen, we've not made any AI films or anything like that. But it's been through my own kind of experience of working on the making of the Blair Witch Project, kind of seeing how that was its own storytelling, using a different kind of way to tell a story. I've just decided, you know what, I need to really dig into this AI filmmaking space and really get a good solid knowledge base for it.
And for you?
Hi, I'm Shamila Lengsfeld. I'm a director and screenwriter, and I'm highly interested in technology, also AI, since I'm doing movies which contain a lot of visual effects. So I use AI to cut costs, enhance my production quality, and also exploring all kind of boundaries. And I also did a whole AI movie to explore what is possible, what not.
Absolutely. And Darryl, can you speak to us a little bit about introduce yourself if you could, and your company.
Thanks, Rodney. My name is Darryl Marks. I'm the founder and the CEO of a company called Adapt Entertainment. We're based in Tel Aviv. We have offices in Los Angeles and Sydney. We're a creative technology company where we actually built a generative AI process that can take a foreign language film or TV show and convert it completely into English language, and we sync it into the original film. So it looks like you're watching the original film, but with an English dialogue completely synced.
Got it. Very concise, Darryl. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'd like to just do a very simple thing here, and from each of you, I'd like to just get a definition of what the term AI, artificial intelligence, means to you. Because I think sometimes we just kind of conflate everything and it's all thrown together, and different people are utilizing it in different ways and even have a very different understanding of what it means. So can I just ask you this basic question? What is AI through your lens?
Thank you. So, as we already learned, AI, there's not only AI, there's also generative AI. So we are talking about this topic, and it's basically creating new content which did not exist before based on a huge data setup. So for me, I'm using it to enhance my creativity and my possibilities in my movies. So also to come faster from A to B. The story and the idea and the creative process, it's the same, but I'm just doing everything faster, and I can afford higher production quality.
So for me, AI is just fundamentally just a new tool. It's a new instrument in the process of making whatever creative works you're going to be doing. That said, this is kind of a different thing in the sense that there is the trajectory of AI because it's a robot basically, in so many words, and there is this open, this question about, AGI, about consciousness and all that stuff. So as a tool, it's that, but, it's a paintbrush, but then what if the paintbrush decides, no, I'm not painting this way, I'm going that way. Then we're talking something else. So it's about the trajectory of where it's gonna go beyond being a tool.
Rodney, I think it's a tough question. I mean, I think AI encompasses so much, but I think what it's done for us is that it allows us to build models off of a generative AI computer, where when we work on our technology, we're able to build this model to help us on this new format. I think without it, it would be impossible for us to do. So when we film the new voiceover, we're able to take that and capture it and put it back into a computer, and the computer basically reads it and is able to establish a new model from all the data that they have from that. And that's what makes it interesting. But I think AI covers so many things, and hopefully later we'll talk about something that it can do and can't do and should do and shouldn't do, but it's a tough question to answer.
And that is actually what I was trying to uncover there, Darryl, that kind of confusion that seems to be running in tandem with the adoption of artificial intelligence. There seems to be a very unclear kind of definition of things. And we won't even get into the legal aspects of that just yet. But I am interested in knowing, because we've got three individuals here from largely different sectors of or communities, parts of the planet. How has the adoption, you're utilizing AI, but how has that adoption been embraced culturally through your film region or television or whatever spaces that you're employing it into? How you've delved into it, but how has the ability to kind of introduce it back into the business space of our industry, how has that been?
I mean, like for me, I'm based in Los Angeles, and most people have heard about all the strikes that have been going on in Los Angeles. And there's of course the screenwriters had been striking, and then the actors, and it all kind of happened sort of together. And a fundamental part of the discussion and the fights was because of AI. And everybody was trying to figure out, well, what does this all mean? And the screenwriters, when it comes to, say, ChatGPT, seeing, well, it looks like it can write screenplays, but it can't. I mean, you can put in all these prompts and it still doesn't have the, the human touch and all those kinds of things. And then, of course, a lot of people say, well, it will, at some point. So it was really important that those strikes did happen in order to open up that conversation. And now more people are, in fact, using AI and like the models for writing, ChatGPT and all these other ones that are coming out. And now, of course, the video, generative video AI with regard to characters, people are really exploring different ways to tell stories with this technology. But in Los Angeles, because it's such the hub, people know that this is definitely going to start affecting what they're doing. So there's a lot of tension, and of course around the world too. But I'll tell you now, in Los Angeles, there's basically an AI camp and an anti-AI camp, and there's a lot of tension going on. So people are now trying to figure it out. And having this kind of conversations, I think, is really important. That I definitely feel like, it's important that we as creatives and the business community related to the filmmaking of all types, we start having these conversations now and learn what is it that AI can do, cannot do, but also, if you're in like the VFX world, it might be time to really start thinking about some things, and that's just the way it is. So that's the reaction that, at least in my space, people are having.
Shamila, how is your adoption being embraced?
Yes, I also see a lot of fear, but I also see a lot of excitement, especially in the kind of smaller communities, which has now a realistic chance to get heard and produce something which an infrastructure which is not having not so much access to big gear or professional film production structures can now tell the stories more precise and more powerful. And I see that there's a lot of excitement and people coming to me, Shamila, can we do this now with AI, or can you help us to show this sequence which was not possible before now, and now we can compete and can follow up with some bigger productions. And I think it's also important to mention that, there will be jobs which will change. They will have more skill set which will be more software connected and prompting and stuff. But I definitely think that there will be also kind of more work to do because we're working much faster. So a visual effects artist is still a visual effects artist, but he's doing faster, automatized work, and he can work more content now, which is also an interesting point of view, I think.
And we have, can you hear me?
Hold on, just give me a second, please, Darryl. Thank you. So, Darryl, can you hear me okay, Darryl?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Just a tweak on the question for you particularly, Darryl. The adoption that you've undertaken with the various aspects of artificial intelligence, you're in a unique position because you're in multiple countries, and I'd like to know whether or not there has been a difference in terms of the acceptance of the adoption that that you're undertaking.
So it's a great question. And the only reason why we're in different cities is for a couple reasons. And I'm going to start from the beginning. So we've been successful in using our AI to convert 4 films and 1 TV show for a major streamer. But as has been mentioned on the panel, is that we're under an NDA. We're not allowed to discuss it because this company is afraid that even though it's a ethical, positive AI technology, people misunderstand it and they're going to get into trouble. So we're not allowed to just talk about who it is, but we've done 4 films and a TV show. And the interesting thing is that The first film that we did, and what we did, we worked with a German director, and we used the original cast to voice over the English language into the dialogue. The company we do work for uses voiceover actors. So in either case, we can use original actors or voiceover actors for the new English dialogue. Now, what was interesting was that when we worked with the streamer, that in 2023, we did a French action film for them, and it became the #1 non-English language film for them for all of 2023. And then last year, we did another French action film, and it became the #1 film for 2024, and now they're all #2 all-time non-English language film. So what the technology does, it allows audiences to watch a foreign language film, but in English to enjoy it. They're engaged. So as soon as they turn on the show or the movie, they don't realize they're in another language because it's in English. And so what this company finds is that they're getting engagement for people to watch the film and the TV show. And that's what's been very exciting for us. We're trying to work with European producers and directors to do the same thing, because obviously this streamer is streaming, but we'd like to get some films in the theaters. There's actually no theatrical business in America with foreign language films, because people are not going to go to a theater to watch a subtitled film, and there is no dubbing in theaters. In terms of why we have 3 offices, is I'm located in Tel Aviv, but all the production work gets done in Sydney. So
Right.
Australia is very, very aggressive with tax rebates.
Yep.
And so all the post-production work we do, we get a 40% tax rebate.
Wow.
And that's huge.
That is huge.
And the group we have in LA is the group that actually has the AI technology. So it's global, and it makes it a little harder to do a Zoom meeting because we have to coordinate with all the time zones.
Okay. Time moves very quickly on these panels, and I'm aware of this. So what I want to kind of do is introduce, I mean, this is Afro Berlin, and so by definition, what we'd love to do is kind of get a sense as to how, if at all, in your experiences, your undertaking of the particular strand of artificial intelligence that you're utilizing, how it impacts culture, or maybe even cultural traditions, based upon your experience of how it backs into cultures and cultural traditions, wherever that may be. I don't know who might want to lead with that one, but please. And that could be whatever culture, because obviously I'm not going to limit anyone. We're shooting, we're working oftentimes in international co-production. Darryl, you've just mentioned Australia, obviously. There are indigenous people there, and also maybe to kind of contextualize it, we all know the arguments that are going on around the training of artificial intelligence and some of its biases and limitations. So even through that context, how is it backing into culture, tradition, and have you even seen or have any thoughts on the idea?
So if you want, in terms of, there was a film that came out of Africa last year called On Guinea Fowl. It was distributed by A24. That's a film, I don't know how well it will do, but it's obviously in a different language. And so we feel like for an African film or an African country, if there's a bigger audience for the film to be seen in English, it's something that can help filmmakers in Africa instead of having a native language. And so in that case, it would have been a perfect movie for us to work on, because I think we could have expanded the audience.
Good point. Shamila?
I think it's definitely about representation and having more stage time or screen time. My Bible, for example, is queer and POC, and I think we can afford much more quality, and through this quality, people will get the attention, get the focus on stories which had very niche before and had no chance to compete with a bigger production from Hollywood, for example. And through this, there could also be a shift of power happening in the film industry. For example, we go away from the major studios from Hollywood, because now across the whole world we can achieve this kind of quality. So in the smallest communities, suddenly there are coming out great stories, visually great stories, which has a high quality, and suddenly we see and we hear traditions, languages, and also culture we couldn't explore before because they had no screen time in our world, in our Western world, whatever. And I think this is a huge, huge point to think about, that there can be a shift of power through AI and also a lot of new potential for smaller communities.
Yeah, I mean, this is where generative AI and video, the positives really enter the scene. Because, you know, the reality is there have been so many stories, you know, from different cultures, and certainly African countries haven't really, you know, been able to. There's always this challenge of the budget and going out there and getting all of the best gear to be able to do things, and casting, and it's always this, you know, this journey. But now what you have is, you know, the ability to do these prompts. You know, I've been kind of working with this one guy who he's just really learned how to do these prompts to do. In fact, I think if we have some time, we can show some clips of what he's been doing. But now, you know, you can do these epic stories, and finally, it's like people, any place in the world can, you know, they're prompt masters or whatever. They can really go out there and tell stories and create amazing scenes that normally they wouldn't have been able to get access to be able to do. So that's really exciting, you know. But all these things we're slowly learning about what the possibilities are.
Sure. I kind of want to be a little contentious here, if I might, and we're talking so far a lot about the positive elements of artificial intelligence and its ability to kind of streamline, I think, as you put it, Shamila, and to be able to attain certain things, even in the context of like the African continent, of getting to production value that may have been otherwise not attainable. I'd like to sort of just pose the question about a lot of the noise surrounding AI, which is about everything from job losses, certain barriers to access in terms of the actual technology itself, maybe even the end times conversation about AI becoming sentient and sort of like taking over the world, and all of those things which have actually been, you know, placed into a very realistic kind of context and conversation by very intelligent people who work in the field. So I just kind of wanted to get your sense in terms of, as individuals who are playing with the technology, what are the primary concern areas? Not even your concerns, but are the areas of concern that may impact other people?
I think for me, clearly the flood of content and also kind of deepfake, fake news. We can't trust our eyes anymore. So this is a huge, huge issue. Also about transparency, like metadata, who created this content. And I think to handle this flood of content will be hilariously hard. Also to see through all this, what is real, what not. And for this, I think we need definitely kind of a code of conduct, like restriction or rules, how to work with that and how to label AI in social media or elsewhere, also in documentary films. It will be an important topic. So this is definitely something which is personally concerning me. And besides that, also the data bias, which you mentioned before, because the AI is learning from big data, and the data maybe contains racism and discrimination already, so we're reflecting this in AI. When I'm prompting, for example, I want a person doing this and that, this person is always white and male, so I have to specify in prompting who should the person look and stuff like this. So the standard AI is also kind of racist, in my opinion, and this is also a huge problem. So we have to program our own AI and give access to it, to have the right foundation of things.
Thank you, Shamila.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, you know, I believe it was around 2020 is when ChatGPT was just being trained and all that stuff, and there's this amazing article in which it talks about, you know, there's a certain amount of curation that OpenAI had to go through, but humans had to be part of that, and essentially the Global South was, you know, the group who basically went through and just cleaned it up, but that also means, you know, emotionally, psychically, people went through a lot of garbage, like dark garbage, to give us, you know, the stuff, and they went through their own emotional damage and going through all of that stuff, and there was a price to be paid. I mean, people just look at these robots, and you know, I always call it robot, but basically, you know, it didn't just kind of pop out of thin air. I mean, of course, there's all the great technology, the software developments and stuff like that, but it went through that, you know, on top of, you know, copying a lot of people's stuff. So there is all of that, and then the other thing too, that's really concerning too, is just the environment. You know, you know, all these computers, you know, they need a lot of electricity, and so it's not coming out of thin air. And as the systems get better and better, you know, the environment has it really might suffer, actually, and it's pretty much guaranteed to suffer unless we figure out ways to deal with all this amount of computing power. It needs all this cooling, and it just takes up a lot of energy, and it's an exponential machine, basically. And so it's just the arc of how this stuff is going to be used, especially once, even though people are talking about AI right now, the general public as a whole are not fully engaged in the level of this, from generative AI and all these other systems. They're not fully engaged right now. Just like I always equate where we are right now with AI to, in 1995, America Online, you know, in the US, you know, that was, people were getting on, you know, on the internet and a little bit of emails, and the thing was like trying to log on, you know, made all those noises. But then by like 1997, music was online. That was the company Napster was, you know, stealing people's music, whatever, all that kind of stuff was going on. And then by 1999, and then that was in the year that I was like documenting my friends making the Blair Witch Project, you know, video clips were sort of popping up, and that really helped that movie blow up. And it was the first sort of viral clips on the internet, but that was even, you know, the quality was terrible, you know? But by 2005 is when YouTube hits and, you know, everything takes off, right? But right now, basically, we're in 1995 of AI, and it's gonna escalate way faster than what it did back in actual 1995. And it's gonna use way more energy, it's, you know, so there's that.
Yeah, there's some awful statistic about the amount of energy being utilized. I think Ireland was one of the places that was cited and said something ridiculous like, and I can't corroborate these figures, but I was told that 70% of its energy usage is going towards sort of like, you know, that tech sector, if you will, which sounds alarming when you break it down. Darryl, so Darryl Marks, the debilitating element
Can I
of...
answer the question?
I'm sorry?
Rodney, can I answer the last question?
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
sorry.
The debilitating side of AI, if you will, sir.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that the AI is not going to create new things. You still need the human creativity element. I talk to a lot of filmmakers, and they talk about their project, and I tell them, look, my AI is not going to make it a better film. So you still need to have the content be good, and the AI can enhance it to make it better. I think the one thing that's really important is full disclosure. I think people need to know ahead of time what's happening to the film. I think something happened a couple weeks ago that I think is really, really important. The film called The Brutalist was a Hungarian film about an architect who comes to America. And he's Hungarian, and when he comes to America, he speaks Hungarian to his friends in America. And the director wasn't happy with the dialogue in Hungarian. And so they ended up using AI, a company called Respeecher, who is a very good company, to enhance the audio. And I think that's an issue. One is they didn't disclose it. Two was the editor who was doing an interview with a small magazine brings it up and says, oh, we just changed a couple vowels and a couple things. And they can, no, you just enhanced the actor's speech. And that's a problem. And I think what actors and a lot of the guilds are afraid of is that if you start doing that, it becomes an issue. The other thing of that to me is it's not his performance. And 100%. I think that's something needs to be addressed because, yeah, if you're really good and can speak 2 languages, wow, that makes you incredible. If you can't, then subtitle it or dub it, but don't fake it and don't not disclose it. I think that's an issue, just as was mentioned about a deep fake. It needs to be clear. And I think one of the things that's happening too is that it's creating jobs. Yes, I think that was brought up before about VFX. It's probably going to take jobs away, but there's going to be so much creativity here and so much enhancement of better filmmaking, I think, in the future.
Really good points raised there, Darryl. I appreciate those. We actually had 2 different panels dealing with the legalities of AI. So just for the audience, we're not really delving into the legal issues so much in this panel. But I actually also have a curiosity because I know I'm going to, there are people who may watch this later, etc. And I'm the vice president of the African Artists Association, a non-profit based in Los Angeles. And we demystify the entertainment industry, at least that is our purpose. And a lot of the questions I get are very just basic ones, which are for individuals like yourselves who are quite evolved into the space. What programs are you using and what AI tools do you think are most interesting currently?
I think on the visual side, definitely kind of prompt-to-image generators, which is, for example, the leading software Midjourney. So you can basically prompt, like communicate with the text to the software anything you want to see. To have an effective outcome, you need a skill set. So I would always say that a professional filmmaker needs to control it to get professional results, which fits in the context of a bigger production. And also a software or AI like image-to-video generations are like growing so fast and so crazy. You can direct a camera, you can make so much crazy stuff right now, which is exciting, but also bringing a lot of fears and concerns. Yeah. So on this side, I would say it's pretty interesting what is coming up right now.
So Midjourney, I heard from you. Zubi?
Yeah, you have like Midjourney, but then video, like the text to video. There's one called Minimax, which is, so of course we've got Sora, and so each one, they have, various, like some are better quality than others for certain things, but then, so you have like these safeguards that these different companies have. So OpenAI, Sora, there's certain things you can prompt it to do, and it'll be maybe more conservative about certain things. But then you have I think it's called Minimax. It's a text to video. You prompt it that way, and it creates a video. But it's owned by a Chinese company, and they'll let you do anything. They'll let you whatever kind of imagery that you want to do, they'll let you do it. And that's a mixed bag, right? So that's kind of one of those things where if you're trying to do, I don't know, some action sequence or something like that, it might be willing to really be much more gruesome or something like that. Like if you're a Tarantino type, okay, use the Minimax, you know what I mean? Because it's going to be willing to, and who knows, maybe in the Chinese context, maybe that software in China, they have safeguards there, but they release it and they're like, hey, you people in the Western world, go for it, do whatever you want to do. So there is that. Another thing too, this colleague of mine who he's been just doing amazing work, but he uses a combination. He also uses like a deep fake software, and he essentially uses it to he calls it casting. He will create an AI character that looks photoreal of a person, but it's not a real human being. It's just he just created it, and then he uses deep fake to keep that character consistent, because sometimes the problem is like you do these prompts and the character won't be the same, so all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Nice. Darryl, what are you working with, sir?
I don't really have an answer to that question because we built our own internal software, and really on the production side, we're using basic VFX work, so I'm not that much involved in terms of, I know what's out there with all the other AI and the Deep Six and the ChatGPT. I'm just not involved with that side.
Got it. Excellent.
I would maybe add, just like to get a side, when I work on an AI sequence or something, I'm using kind of 7 to 10 different AIs. And it's a process from generating the image, generating the video, upscaling, going back, going through After Effects, going back, upscaling, and adding maybe something in AI. So this is a huge process, and this is also, yeah, super interesting that you have for everything, you have a special kind of AI software. For example, you mentioned Minimax. You can directly, the camera hilariously, like nowhere else, I can tell the software what I want with the camera in every move. But also, for example, Google released Veo 2, which you can have incredible action sequences. So for everything, you need basically your own AI tool.
Yeah, another thing is sometimes you use like ChatGPT to create a great prompt to get what you want, and so. Essentially, you're getting this robot to talk, the robot talk to the other robot. And that's kind of how, like, you're able to get more precisely what you want. Yeah. So it is about kind of using multiple software. It's not just like one software will answer, everything. But there was, one of the colleagues I work with, he had done this little AI short film, and very emotional work that he did, and I was incredibly impressed by that because, like Darryl had mentioned, you got to have a human being who's really into what he's doing. It's not just the machines just doing what they do. So that way the work connects with people. But anyway, so he had done this piece, and I watched it, and at the end it says, his name is Matt, written and directed by Matt, basically, but he used AI to do the whole thing. And so there's his name, and then when the credit sequence popped up, it was just software. It was like Sora, blah, blah, blah. This is the section where normally it's humans in the credit sequence, but in this case, it's just a stream of software. So that's when I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That means something.
Shamila, this is almost an aside, but a very public one. I'm really curious to know that workflow that you're using. We don't have to answer this right now, but what I'm thinking is it certainly sounds like a wonderful kind of case study in terms of how that loop works. I'm also, as a geek, just kind of curious in terms of energy consumption as well as, drives, all this storage space, all those sorts of things. I'm really interested in that. But I do know that we're really kind of tight on time, so I've got a final question, but I do want to see if I can maybe get 1 or 2 questions in quickly from the audience. And the question that I have for you guys is in terms of I really kind of want to know what your thoughts are on the future. And so I'll give it to you. You have a choice. I'll give you this choice. It's either the 5-year chunk or the 10-year chunk? What are we looking at through your lens? What do you think? Where do you think we'll be in like 5 years' time or 10 years' time, based upon what you're experiencing and the exponential growth that we're seeing currently?
Oh boy, that's a big one. That's a good question. Really good. I mean, I'll take the 10-year one. So, and mostly I'll just take it from the point of view of the content that will be out there, you know, for everyday people who are not even necessarily out there trying to make the content. But one thing is, people, I think I'm going to forecast a little bit, which is a bad idea.
Go for it.
But I think what's going to probably be happening is you'll have all this content, you know, on your device or whatever, and it's just going to get a sense of who you are, because, you know, anybody who's like on, you know, from IG, from Instagram and Facebook, they you know, it knows a lot of your behavior and all that kind of stuff, and eventually this AI systems are going to be more customized to you, and you know, it will get, as you're watching the content, it will start to make adjustments about what mood you're in, you know, and if it's like, hey, I just want something happy, or I'm in a sad place, and it will just adjust if you've done your prompt or your settings, it will start to make really happy, all the movies you're watching, it will just kind of adjust to you. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But I think that's based on the idea that it's building so much information about each of us customizing. That's where I think AI and the image, the content is probably gonna start to move into. So
that's a good prediction. I like that. Shamila, do you have any thoughts?
So 10 years is hard to say, since I see how fast everything is developing, so I don't know where will we be even in 10 years. So I think in 5 years there will be something like a new genre, like AI movies, so a new fleet of filmmakers which are just doing AI movies completely. So that could be like an animation movie or musical, like completely new genre, niche, whatever. And I see also that there will be a lot more digital processes in filmmaking and conventional filmmaking, but I don't think that filmmaking is dying as we know it. I think we always need human creativity, human heart, human emotions, and a team to make a movie, to have all this energy together, to have all this spirit and vision together. So film will stay, in my opinion, a team sport. It will stay led by human, but of course we have to do a lot of less process, and all will be a little smaller maybe, not so much people involved anymore. Yeah, it's hard to say, something like that.
Darryl, we're really close to being out of time, so just a quick response from you, sir.
I don't know if it was Zubi, but I think that he's right about, I think eventually what will happen is that you'll be able to sort of create a model for you. It's like, hey, here's what I want to watch. And it'll be able to filter down exactly. I think that on our end, it's going to be interesting where if you have 160 languages out there and you're having more content coming from different countries, I think in the future you may be able to hit a button and the film may automatically go into that language and possibly be synced. And so that will be different. In 10 years, maybe we'll be in Mars. That's it.
I'm going to leave that one alone. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm apologizing for the lack of Q&A time, but we are out of time. We have to make space for the next panel. But can you please join me in putting your hands together for this wonderful panel? Thank you.